It is now my pleasure to introduce our Chancellor, Pradeep Khosla. He began his tenure at UC San Diego's 8th Chancellor in August, and he previously served as the Dean of Engineering at Carnegie Mellon University. Chancellor Khosla is a distinguished electrical and computer engineer, and he is also an elected member of several distinguished academies and the recipient of numerous awards for his leadership, teaching, and research. Please welcome Chancellor Pradeep Khosla.
Thank you, Patrick, and welcome everybody. Good evening. It's actually indeed an honor to be here. In fact, I was supposed to be one of the judges out there, but unfortunately I could not because I have another function I have to go to. And I don't know if this behooves well for the people who are pitching or not, but given how soft I am, I think it's my loss that I'm not here. Otherwise, I would have funded every one of the 10 teams. That was my goal, to fund every one of the 10 teams. Only 10 teams today?
That's correct.
Right, okay. So if the judges, if they agree with me, I think you should try to support as many teams as possible. And I tell you why it's important. In this business of entrepreneurship, of starting companies, literally 1 or 2 out of 10 companies succeed. So if you fund in less than chunks of 10, quanta of 10, the probability you'll get an integer number of successes is about 0, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So you should always fund quanta of 10. And we have 10 today, so I'm hoping you guys can fund it all. What you're doing out here, by the way, this Entrepreneur Challenge is a student-run organization, and I'm told there's a CEO, there's a CFO, there's a COO, and I'm told that these are real entrepreneurs who don't get paid. And those are the entrepreneurs I love because I like investing a very small amount of money to get a very big return at the other end. And the best way to do that is to have people on your payroll who are not paid but are working 24/7. Right, Patrick? Congratulations. By the way, thanks for doing this. I think this is really important. This type of event, this type of an organization does 2 important things for our students. Number 1 is it creates leadership in the students. And number 2, it gives you practical experience and access to some really important people who really understand what entrepreneurship is all about. So at UC San Diego, we've been focused on this before I got here, and we'll be focusing on this a lot more since I've been here. The first email, literally, after I was announced as Chancellor, I think it was from Kevin, saying, we are a student-run group. Is that right? Did you send me the first email? We are a student-run group, and all we want from you is a little bit of space, and we'll create a lot of companies for you. And I said, that's really a good thing. It's amazing that undergraduates are interested in this, and it's truly amazing that people at UC San Diego are interested in this. So I call up my dean, Bob Sullivan, Dean of Business, and he says, never heard of these guys, don't give them any space. So then I call up my Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, and I said, this doesn't make sense. These look like serious students to me. They didn't have to send me this email. And it turns out that you guys just did not follow the right protocol, right? But at the end, you did get space. But I should tell you a more important thing. I was talking to one of my department heads in computer science and engineering, and he says, I'm going to start this new center, which, by the way, is extremely well-funded, which is going to create the entrepreneurs of the future. So before you can become an entrepreneur, there's a little bit of education and training. I think that might be a necessary condition. And I say this is a necessary condition because there are entrepreneurs out there, Peter Thiel included, in fact, the only one, who runs this 20 under 20 challenge. How many of you know about this challenge? Right? Basically, what this challenge says is, if you're under 20, I'll pick 20 of you, give you $100,000 for 2 years, a year for 2 years, get out of school, and what I'm going to prove is that you don't need to go to school to be an entrepreneur. When you pick 6 sigma, when you look at a sample which is 6 sigma away from the mean, and then you use that to create a conclusion about the sample as a whole, We know, even from Statistics 101, that is a bad way to make decisions. The reason I point this out is I see many undergraduates out here. I want you to know that undergraduate, as sort of education, I think is a necessary condition. Don't let it fool you, and I'll come back to this education in a second. But back to this entrepreneurship thing. So we have a center. It's called the Moxie Center. It's recently funded, and it's endowed by a young gentleman, a young entrepreneur, not that young, a very senior entrepreneur, great lover of UC San Diego, who happens to be in the audience right now, Irwin Zahn. Irwin, would you mind just raising your hand? I don't mean to embarrass you, but it turns out Irwin made his wealth and his impact by being an entrepreneur, and it's his goal, it's his vision, it's his ambition, and he's picked UC San Diego. Irwin could have picked any place in the city. He's not an alum of UC San Diego. He just loves what we do, and he picked UC San Diego to say, if there is a place I'm going to invest in, this is a place I'm going to invest in educating the entrepreneurs of the future, right? So it's called the Moxie Center. If you get a chance, you should go look at it. MOXIE. Okay, back to education. So you might wonder, why is education needed? If you think about what it takes to be a great entrepreneur, I think it takes about three things. I mean, it takes many, many things, but let's just talk about three things. I think it takes leadership. Leadership is not something that, some people may be born with it, but most of us, over the course of time, through interaction with people, by watching other people, by reading books, by physical interaction with people, we kind of absorb good attributes of good leaders, right? Interactions don't quite happen if you keep on just shopping in the mall. Interactions happen in a residential four-year, I was going to say 5 or 6 year, but I should not say that. Residential 4-year institutions, some of you make it 5 or 6 years, or residential 2-year for masters and another 4-year for PhD, right? Some residential institutions, educational institutions where you really interact with people. That's really an important property. Second property, I think, is team building, understanding how to read people, understanding how to be empathetic, sympathetic, and motivational all at the same time. This does not happen just the day you are born. I mean, some of us might have an innate ability in this, but most of us, again, by interacting with people, by watching leaders, by watching great team builders, we pick it up. And third, but not the least, is some vision, some idea of what is it you want to be doing. You cannot be an entrepreneur and not have any idea what you should be doing. Now, to have some idea what you should be doing, you need to have some understanding of the opportunities, right? So it cannot all happen in vacuum. So that's why I tell you that as good as this 20 under 20 challenge is, don't let it fool you. I think education is at least necessary, if not, we know it's not sufficient, right? Because we know people who are not educated can still be good entrepreneurs. But it is at least necessary to be an entrepreneur. Last but not the least, let me just talk a little bit about where I think the world is going to be headed, right? You can be an entrepreneur anywhere. You could build 7-Eleven stores, you could build FedEx, you could build Microsoft. I mean, there's a whole range of things you could be doing. The important thing is that do you want it to be at a small scale or a large scale, at the scalable level? So I'm not going to address every possible opportunity, but where I sit, my background, which is information technology, I think there are three things that are happening right now in this world that are going to create like very significant business opportunities. I don't know what all these opportunities are, but I can tell you, number one is the role of exponentials. So if you look at the whole IT industry, starting in the mid-'80s to early 2000s, it was all an explosion because of exponentials. Exponentials where the chips doubled in size, doubled in memory, half the price, and double in speed, all every 12 to 18 months. And that's what created the information technology revolution. That process, called Moore's Law, is still going on, but I think there's an equally important revolution that's happening, which is now we are able to do what we did for information technology, we are now able to do for biology. So for example, we can sequence somebody's genome for about, I don't know, few $1,000s, and I think in about 2 or 3 or 4 more years, it'll be like a few $100s. And when that happens, that opens up a whole range of possibility. The fundamental notion of healthcare changes, the fundamental notion of defining sicknesses in like 12 different buckets, all of these fundamental notions change. And I think that's going to open up a whole range of possibilities. And I think UC San Diego, is going to be very strongly positioned with our strength in biology, our strength in medicine, our strength in engineering, and our education and training of the students who are going to see this happen. And 2 of the companies that do these high throughput sequencers are located right here. Lumina, one of them, and Life Technologies, which just bought Ion Torrent. Ion Torrent, by the way, was founded by Jonathan Rothberg, who's a good friend of mine and an alum of Carnegie Mellon, right? So 2 of these high-throughput sequencers are located right here, right? Major biology-oriented research facilities are located right here, engineering right here. So I think we are very strongly positioned to really take advantage of that. So that's number one. Second thing that I think is going to happen is the use of tablets is going to have a very big impact. Use of tablets not as viewing devices, but more as front ends and access to computing, because that's a way to think about tablets. I mean, viewing is just a very simple form of tablet use, but the real use of tablet is a front end to computing, which is sitting in the cloud, in the back end. I don't even know where it is sitting. And I think that opens up possibilities where instead of even investing like a few $1,000s in computing, all you have to do is invest like a few $100s in a tablet and really open up the world behind it. And the few $100s is only because we are spoiled because of Apple. But if you think about third world countries like India and China, India, for example, is developing a tablet for $50. For $50, you can have, okay, so you won't have the retina screen, okay? But I don't know your eyes, but my eyes can't tell the difference between the second and third generation of the tablets, right? So I think the tablet is going to be a very big thing. And last but not the least, in terms of building ideas and creating solutions, I think crowdsourcing is another exponential technology. If we can understand how to exploit crowdsourcing in ways that we can bring thousands and thousands of ideas, and ideas coming from a diverse population, from the starving poor in the third world to the obnoxiously rich in the first world, right? Looking at the same problem, bringing different perspectives, offering different types of solutions, and if we can put it all together, I think there's a great opportunity out there. Now, don't ask me what the opportunity is. I can see the trend. And one of these days, when I don't have much to think about as chancellor, I'm going to start thinking about how these trends are going to be exploited, right? So with that said, let me congratulate you one more time. And if there's any feedback I have to give you, so in this Entrepreneur Challenge, I know people must have told you should focus, you should be distinguished, you should be distinctive, you should be credible, and all the good stuff. At UC San Diego, one of the things we have done well is create entrepreneurs. One of the things we have not done well is try to position ourselves as being distinctive in this region, in this regime of entrepreneurship, where we have 3 different things happening right now in this room, and I cannot figure out which brand is what, right? But with that said, I think it is the goal of an educational system and a campus like this, where we let 1,000 flowers bloom, and when we give people the opportunity to excel at what they want to do, and then we figure out who's finally excelled or not, right? So there are 3 different things out here. Pathway Ventures that Kevin is leading. Patrick is, The Entrepreneur Challenge. And what was the third one? There was a third one. Oh, come on. No, Moxie Center is number 1. Moxie Center is the umbrella, right? Now, at the end of this evening, I'm happy to answer a question or 2, but if you don't get funded here, Irwin's sitting back there, so, Irwin's going to fund you. So, and Jay sitting right next to Irwin, he runs the Moxie Center, right? But anyway, welcome everybody, and thank you for listening to me. I'm really excited about this. I apologize that I can't be here for the whole evening, so happy to answer a question or 2. If none, then that's okay too. All right. Yes, sir.
What do you see as the biggest challenge within San Diego where UCSD operates as far as promoting the entrepreneur spirit?
So there are a few things. So let me say that my view is any great research university like UC San Diego has to be the driver of the economy in that local region. And you can look at any city in the country. If you look at, for example, Boston, you cannot imagine Boston without Harvard and MIT, and to some smaller extent, Northeastern and Boston U. If you look at Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, University of Pittsburgh. If you look at Chicago, I can just go down the list. And I think the beauty of San Diego is that there is only one high-powered research university, which is UC San Diego. So it's both our obligation and responsibility to be the driver. And we are also fortunate that there's not much competition. With that said, what does it mean to be the driver? Number one, producing the talent base, students, faculty, postdocs, you can go down the list. Number two, making our technology transfer process totally seamless and painless. From the moment you have an idea to the moment you file for an invention to the moment you go out, I think we should be behind you, by your side, urging you, encouraging you, and making sure everything out there is structured for you to be successful. And last but not the least is venture capital money. And I did not realize this until I got here, how little there is of venture capital money. If this was Palo Alto, if I was a venture capitalist getting like 10 deals in a day and picking one. And most venture capitalists, so if you have a $100 million fund, just to give you an idea, if you have a $100 million fund, you would pick at most about 10 to 20 deals. You would not pick any more than that, and you would do that over a period of 2 years or so, or maybe 3 years. So what that tells you is a deal a month is actually a good speed of investing, right? So in Palo Alto, on Sand Hill Road, everybody gets like 10 deals a day. So a deal a month is like 0.1% or so acceptance rate. So you are in a good shape. And the higher the deal flow, the better off you are, right? Here, I think there is deal flow out here, but I don't see too many venture capitalists out here. So one of the things hopefully we'll be trying to do over the next few years is convince some of the people we know to come back and take a fresh look, or find a way to have the deal flow from here go to Palo Alto in a much easier manner. As for a student, it's not easy to get up and spend $1,000 on Southwest and travel there, right? So those are some of the issues that I see. We have a lot of economic development entities, ComNexus, Connect, Biocom, and I can just go down the list, Janssen Labs, and they are actually making a very big difference. I cannot imagine San Diego being as vibrant without them. But I think we need to now go to the next level and bring more venture capital money here. Anything else? Well, if not, thank you very much. And I know you're here for the pitches. It's ironic that I would take like 20 minutes to describe a simple idea to you. And these young entrepreneurs who really have something useful to say get only 2 minutes to describe a good thing that's going to make you money. Anyway, that's life. Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.